my name is Vivi Satorsky, and I'm a coach with the Corrections and Community Engagement Technical Assistance Center at the American Institutes for Research, funded by the Bureau of Justice Assistance and the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. And I wanted to welcome you to this pre-recorded youth interview during Second Chance Month of 2023. The participant today has chosen a pseudonym for his own privacy, but has been a participant in Second Chance grant-funded programming. On behalf of the American Institutes for Research and the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, we appreciate their participation and discussion because we believe in the importance of youth voice. Moderating today's event will be Joshua Calorino from Youth Move National. Joshua Calorino is an enthusiastic youth advocate working for change in the mental health system in Florida and nationally. His previous professional experiences include serving as a lead peer evaluator, and certified recovery peer specialist, as well as an executive team member with Youth Move Miami and serving as the board president for Youth Move National. He is very passionate about youth voice and systems change. He has been a leader in his community and nationally. He hopes to help those with passion for positive change to be leaders in those changes. I'm going to turn the conversation over to Joshua and our youth participant.
Thank you very much for that warm welcome, Vivi. And I wanted to just introduce Peter Parker, our anonymous youth, and thank them for being here today. With that, I did want to set the stage just a bit. In this conversation, we're going to be working and speaking with the youth who has been through the system of care, and some of the things they will say will be positive. Some of them might also be negative, but all of them will be constructive and potentially critical to the system in hopes of creating that positive change. So with that, I did want to start just with some introductory questions for us to get to know Peter Parker a little bit more. So with that, Peter, I'm going to go ahead and start. What is one thing you would like us to know about you?
Well, I really I've always from being young, I've liked to read a lot. And I think reading is something that would help more imagination and vocabulary and one things like that. It's always just been a hobby of mine.
Yeah, that's a great hobby. I also love to read myself, so I'm glad that's something that you picked. To move on a touch here, what is something that you are doing or have done recently that you're proud of?
I had recently just gotten my GED, so I'll be starting college soon. So that's always something to be proud of, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations on that. Let's get a little more abstract. If you could change any rule, what would it be?
I think one of the ones that I've always kind of had ifs about is not going to school, because that's actually required by law, but there's a lot of reasons people don't go to school. Me, on a more personal one, was I was going through a tough time and I had to face charges because of that, but it wasn't something that I didn't want to, but it's just something that's punishable. So I think that's something that could be maybe worked with.
Yeah, so that idea of essentially being required to go to school could potentially be shifted in some way or another is what you're saying.
Yes.
Got it, yeah. What about if you could promise any service or support to youth who might be returning home, what would it be?
I think maybe trips away from home, because most of the time the reason youths have entered the system was because of the home environment. So maybe trips where they would go to parks and stuff like that, or just more out of home time.
Got it. So being able to take trips, but not necessarily go home exactly, but something more extracurricular, so to speak.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So I do have some follow-up questions for you, and I'm going to set the stage once again for that. Today, what we're talking about is reentry. And we're defining reentry here as young people returning to their communities following confinement and under community supervision. It includes support that you have received both in facility and outside of the facility. Okay?
Okay.
With that being said, what has been the most helpful while you were in placement?
Well, I actually did get my GED there, so there was a lot of things that helped. It was that program, among others. They were providing school, and the education there was a lot better because it was like a one-on-one, and that always been something that I had struggled with. So I would say the education and the programs that they were offering.
Right, that's really good. What is something that you feel you know now versus when you were in out-of-home placement?
It's definitely that I wish I had known that like I can't just laze around because that had been something a problem of mine. I learned that I should like really give it my all if I'm gonna do something.
Good. And I'm curious to know. So you said that you used to laze around, and then now you have that ability to make what you want to do actionable. And could you maybe, if you can, take me to the moment or maybe the time period where that happened and explain what kind of changed that and swap that for you?
Yes, so about 9 months ago, before I entered, I was weighing maybe about 315, and I was really like not in a good place. I wasn't going to school or doing much, but leaving, I had lost more than 100 pounds, or yeah, more than 100 pounds. I had my GED, among other certificates. Maybe hopefully going to college soon and getting a job. So I just want to like put my mind, if I can put my mind and stuff, I think it. I just wish I had known that like I wasn't. There's things I could have done if I just worked harder.
What helped you maybe maintain contact with your family and other important people in your life?
They would do a weekly visitation phone call and an extra phone call if you were doing well, and that was good. But I just I'd always been hoping that there was more. There was also you could also send out letters on certain days.
Mhm. Got it. I heard you say just for a quick second there, I was hoping that there was more. Could you tell me more about that?
Yeah, so they would only give us 5-minute phone calls. I just wish that maybe it'd been longer. There'd been more days that we could have called because I feel like I didn't have any very much contact. Because sometimes they wouldn't answer, and if they didn't answer, that was kind of it. That was your day, and you'd have to wait a whole nother week.
Let's see. And would you say that potentially having more phone calls or visitation or whatever that might look like would have helped you through this process a lot more?
Yes, for sure. It would, because there'd be times where I'd not really be motivated to do stuff. I just wouldn't want to listen, and knowing that I could like speak to family would definitely help me.
Understood. And if you could take what you just said, right? You got one phone call a week, and you had to, and then they didn't answer. All of that. If you could maybe make your own custom system, if you had all the power and you had all the money in the world to do this, what would that look like exactly? Would it be a call a day, multiple call? What would you design?
I would think maybe a system where the parent could put in money to a kid's account, and they could
Mhm.
make a phone call from a certain time at the end of the day. So I think about every day, if not some days out of the week.
Okay, yeah, that's a great suggestion. Thank you for sharing that. For the next question here, what would have helped you? Well, actually, let me move on to the next one after that, real quick. What relationships would you say have been most important to supporting you in this process?
So there is only one person we were allowed to contact, and that was immediate family, and it couldn't be any siblings. So my mother was definitely one of the people that was helping me get through this. She was always constantly calling me whenever we had chance. She would never skip out, even though she would have work or something. She would take the time to talk to me, and she just always tell me like, "You can do it. Like, don't get upset." And it always be like just really good motivation for me.
I'm very glad that you were able to have that contact with your mom, and you would say that having that family, would you say, rather, I don't want to put words in your mouth, would you say that family, having that family contact was instrumental in your success?
For sure, I wouldn't have been able to make it through. I think, or would have been in there longer if I hadn't talked to my mom.
Got it. And I think what you're saying now ties back to that idea of maybe having more of that family contact really being a vital portion, right? The more that you get, maybe the even better you might have done.
Yes.
Alrighty. Um, you mentioned earlier that you had been involved in some education. So it seems like you've been involved in education. Were you involved in things like voc tech, vocational training? Was it just career education, certificate programs? Like what all education did you get?
There was some certificate programs, and among them were I got my OSHA 10-hour general industry card course. I got a certificate for that, among others like time management, communication skills. There's one for cybersecurity, so there was a multiple there.
Really good. And would you say that that was you really enjoyed that, you appreciated that, and want to put those certificates to use?
Yes, it definitely helped me in knowing how to. There is also interview skills, so even applying this here, it was very helpful.
All right, I'm glad to hear that. Would there be anything that you would add or change to that education component at all?
I would have been hoping because maybe like financial skills. I'd always wanted to learn about money and how to spend it, and like maybe learn how to take out a credit card and how to work, like actually work with credit, stuff like that.
Yeah, very important information there. Thank you for dropping that in. With that education and the certificates, or maybe even outside of that, what job or professional areas are you most interested in?
I had been wanting to go into real estate. That's something I'd always been looking at. Just I think that would be a good job for me, and I would like to do it.
Got it. And did you get any lessons on that potentially while you were going
No,
through this
I
process?
hadn't. I actually
Oh,
hadn't. That's something actually I think that maybe something I want to learn about, like financial skills because of that job.
understood. Oh, got it. Okay. So given your input about the career you were interested in, what sort of training do you wish was available?
I think maybe more um social skills, because I think that's a job that requires you like to talk to people,
Mhm.
and I think that's not always the easiest thing to do, and just like knowing how to conduct yourself among things like that. So
Okay. So it sounds maybe you'd want something to talk about, maybe interpersonal
yes,
skills, public speaking, and facilitation.
yes.
Okay, got it. Thank you. So to move on, what has been what has been the most helpful support or program that has been available to you as you were participating to leave confinement?
There was family counseling right before I left, about 2 months, and that was very helpful. Just being able to, it was a 40-minute call that with your family and the counselor. So I think it was great because I could understand maybe what's things they would want of me to do, how things would change, and they would know how I felt in seeing them. And so it was just very good, like before being actually going back, just to know all this.
Yeah, that's great. And what do you wish was available to you that has not been available to you as you've been preparing to leave or have left confinement?
I think it would be probably a furlough or something where you could go home for like maybe an hour or maybe like a day or something and then come back. Like, so you could be more integrated with the community, like since before, like going in there all at once and, experiencing all these things at once.
Mhm. So it sounds like you're saying maybe something to get you the fancy word for it would be like reacclimated, being out of the system would be, spend a couple hours, 1 hour, then 3 hours, then a whole day as you kind of get used to being back.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, that sounds like a good idea. Thanks for sharing. Um, what hopes, or rather, what are your hopes that you have for the future? And to make this a little easier, what hopes do you have for the future? And we're gonna break that into just in life, just in general, and then also in your career more professionally.
Well, I haven't always been, I've always been like poor. My mom, she had 3 kids, and we've always like never really been in like in a stable spot. So I've always wanted to be like a homeowner, and we never really had a car. So I definitely want that. I want to be stable, maybe have like a family and be able to support if I had kids, maybe be able to support them,
Mhm.
just give them what I like never had.
Yeah, no. Absolutely. Thank you for jumping in and sharing. So you have those life goals, and those life goals tie into your career goals potentially through, you mentioned earlier, real estate.
Mhm.
Got it. All right. And what would you want to tell another young person at the start of their journey in out-of-home placement? What advice would you give?
I think listening to the rules and complying with the program is something you want to, and just being like taking all it has to offer, because it does have stuff to offer, but you just need to get through it, like, and just, it's gonna be hard for a few months or however long, but as long as you work through it, you'll get out eventually and you'll do well.
You've given really a lot to us in this conversation, which I really appreciate. So just we're gonna maybe do a bonus question or two here. So if there were anything you could say right now, whether it be to the staff on team, to youth, they were just, what is something that you really just want to share with the world, maybe about what you've been through?
Um, it's not a it's not a good place to be. Just trying to avoid it completely in general is probably the best. Like, following laws, just not getting into trouble at all. It's not as good as a place they try to make it be, like accommodating you with like phone calls and stuff. No one wants to be away from home, or no one wants to just be that, like, away. I was away when I had a niece that was born, and I didn't see her until she was already 7 months old. So it's just not, it's not a place where you want to be at.
Alrighty, Peter. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being here with us and giving us some really critical pieces of information that absolutely need to be reached. You mentioned getting more family time. You mentioned the changing of certain parts of the system for them to be able to put money into your account, for more phone calls, things like that. You mentioned being able to reacclimate back into being out of confinement and having some time to get through that adjustment period. Thank you so much for being here, for sharing with us and being honest and critical. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It was good talking to you.